So, Digby, the big story I should say a big story that is one that we barely heard about. And to be fair to everybody, very few people contemplated this because very few people, I think, thought that Donald Trump would actually win. And Kurt Eichenwald had a story in Newsweek that suggested it would be impossible to undo or to basically disentwine Donald Trump's businesses with the presidency. And we are only 2 weeks out from the election. We have a president-elect, but we are starting to get a very clear picture, because it's ongoing, frankly, of something that I don't think we've ever seen in this country, frankly, or certainly not in my lifetime, where a president is actively using the presidency to enrich himself and his businesses in such a naked way.
Nobody's ever done this before, Sam. I mean, this is unique. Even he says it, and his people, like Kellyanne Conway, say it too. Well, this is unprecedented, and they say it as if that's an excuse,
right?
That somehow or another. Well, Trump is different, so the rules don't apply to him, and they evidently believe that they don't. Now, in fairness, and I should just to toot my own horn a little bit, I wrote a lot about this before the election, and a lot of it teeing off the Kurt Eichenwald stuff, but others too. Because I couldn't believe, for me, it was so obvious that there was the unfairness of the focus on Clinton's alleged conflicts of interest with the Clinton Foundation compared to this massive global web of conflicts of interest that with money that would go directly into Donald Trump and his family's pockets and virtually no attention paid to it. So this was part of, my ongoing coverage, which was just, are you kidding? You got to take a look at this. And the fact that Trump signaled from the very beginning that he had no intention of divesting, which of course he couldn't do because it's a brand name. You can't really divest of a brand. And
let me just add. There's been I've seen people talk about this. People have ideas. I mean, it's a brand name insofar as like, the value to Trump is worth more than it is to someone else. Because the Trump name for Joe Stevenson doesn't help him so much. But there's suggestions that Congress could actually pay, like it was a taking type of situation. I mean, who knows? But there's certainly ways to do it. But it's not just that the Trump to be administration is sort of overwhelmed by this and not sure what to do about this and coming up with plans about this. They are actively exploiting this. Like, they're not waiting for, we have properties in this country, we shouldn't get tough with them on this trade deal. They're not waiting for, we should send the military there because I have properties there, and if there's some type of civil war in this country, we're going to want to protect my properties. They're actively leveraging the president-elect status to negotiate better deals for their business.
Absolutely. They're doing it openly and without shame. In fact, last week, when the New York Times had a meeting with Trump, and they actually live tweeted it, and he said, he said that he admitted that he had a meeting with Nigel Farage, the UKIP, British politician who is sort of, he's kind of a what they call alt-right, so neo-fascist politician from Britain and an ally of Trump's, and that he had, talked to him about getting rid of the wind farms that threaten the views of Trump's Scottish golf courses. That is a direct violation of anything anyone would ever have thought a president would do, much less admit to doing. And he admitted that he did it, and he said in that talk, he said, my lawyers have told me that there's no law against what I'm doing. It is impossible for a president to have conflicts of interest. I mean, he literally said that. I mean, that's right up there with Richard Nixon's, if the president does it, it's not illegal. And it's the same concept, to be honest. The reason that there are no laws against a president having conflicts of interest is because there's no way that they could cover that whole terrain with any specificity. They understood from the beginning that if you can't trust your president to set his business dealings aside, to do what every other candidate and president has done, which is divest themselves, liquidate, put their holdings in blind trust, completely separate themselves from any knowledge, not to mention, the financial aspect, but even any knowledge of what their business holdings are, in order to avoid any kind of conflict of interest. And it's not just because, we want them to be honest and good and we don't want them to be making money off of their office. It's also because you don't want foreign governments manipulating foreign policy, or our enemies or our allies knowing ways. And here's one for you that nobody's, talked much about. ISIS now knows that there are Trump buildings all over the world. Now, to me, those look like targets. And,
Indeed.
I'm sure they look like targets to them, too. I mean, this is an outrageous impossibility for a president to do both of these things, to have a business, to run a business, and to be the president at the same time. Now, he said in that meeting with the New York Times that he could, quote, theoretically do both, and that his advisors had said that he could, but that he's going to do something, he put it very vaguely, to try and make it, less. He's turning over the signing of the checks, for instance, to his kids. I mean, can you believe he hasn't done that yet? I mean, he's been running for president for 15 months, and he's the president-elect. So, it's exactly what you say. They're not even trying to hide it. They're not making any kind of a hypocritical sort of thing. I assumed that what they would do was say, hey, the kids are going to run things. We're going to put up a Chinese wall. We're never going to talk about it. That was inadequate. That was something completely inadequate in itself, because they're still the family. His name is on all the buildings. I mean, there's no way you can theoretically do that. But
at least it was a pretense to norms.
Yeah,
I mean, here we are.
The tribute Vice plays to virtue, right? I mean, at least pretend like you care. They're not doing that. He's put Ivanka on the phone calls with foreign leaders. She's in meetings. She's the executive chief executive. She's going to be the chief executive officer of the company. She is an executive vice president as we speak, and we know that they have talked about business on these calls. So they've already done it. There's pictures of them out there. And even though they're kind of trying to withdraw some of that evidence, they make sure it's out there so that people see it. And that's a signal, in my view. I mean, this is my own interpretation. They're letting everybody know, here's who you want to talk to, guys.
We've heard We've heard the story. I mean, it's basically saying, like, look, here's the conduit. He said today, like, what am I going to do? Never, some people would have me never talk to my daughter again. Mm-hmm. They're basically saying she's the go-to person. This is where you go to. If you want things done, this is who you speak to.
Exactly.
It's the same dynamic as these foreign diplomats are saying, of course I'm going to stay at the Trump hotel, because when I go in to meet with him, I want to be able to say, your hotel is great, and I'll run up my bill, and I'll make him money, we'll all make money, et cetera. All right, look, we have to take a break here, but when we come back, I want to talk more about these norms. I mean, the Wall Street Journal, of all places, has said he should liquidate everything. The question is, where do we go from here? And what about the sort of the broad strategy? There's a cavalcade of horrible news that we're getting literally by the hour right now. The question is, like, broadly speaking, what should be the principle that those of us in the opposition should be pursuing in terms of the way that we face Donald Trump? We've got to take a break. We'll be right back after this. Sam Seder, Ring of Fire Radio. I'm talking to the great Heather Parton, Digby.